Hello there, beautiful. How are you doing today? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joesephyr, and it is currently 22:12 in UK time, and I've just gotten back from San Diego TwitchCon after a very delayed flight and a very long flight. But the first thing I wanted to do as soon as I got home was make a video and kind of talk to you guys about the con, the things I've learned, the wonderful people that I've met, and kind of where I'm at with the channel right now. You may have heard some of this stuff already, as I did a big old post on YouTube just before I left, and it was very tearful, and it was all that stuff, and I am very tired, so if I get tearful at any point in this video, then I'm going to apologise in advance. But if you guys wanted to learn more about how TwitchCon was for me, and where we're going to go from here, then stay tuned and keep on watching. We have a lot to talk about. Okay, so first things first, we're going to sit and we're going to talk about the con itself. So, of course, before we get started, during any of my videos, I always shout out some of my patrons every time I release a video over on Patreon. And today I would particularly like to shout out Nalthien and Saeed Iskali, as they, and Martin Sittik actually as well, as they all spent time with me over the weekend, whether it be over the calls or I got to meet some of you guys. And honestly, being able to meet some of you through all of this is the reason that I do content creation. It gives me so much life, and being able to spend time with people that are like-minded, that enjoy the same things as me, is absolutely worth its weight in gold. In fact, it's completely priceless. So to those people, thank you so much for coming and spending time with me. It really did make my week. So I've got some photos here for everybody. So I came in to San Diego, obviously, the day or 2 days before the actual con started, and I didn't realise quite how much of a dive of a hotel I was staying at, but it was all I could really afford, because trust me, while I'm extremely grateful for the money that we raised to help me get to TwitchCon this year, I definitely had to still put a lot of my own money into it, and I got what I could afford, basically. But it was a Motel 6 down in the dodgy end of San Diego, but it actually wasn't too bad. To be fair, for a Motel 6, it did the job. It had a bed, it had a shower, it had AC. I was happy. It was all good. So we got to there, and then after that, I met up with some people. Once again, shout outs go out there, and we went to San Diego Zoo. And San Diego Zoo was absolutely adorable. So as you can see there, that's a photo that I took on my phone of a red panda. San Diego Zoo, absolutely 100% worth the hype. I don't talk about my love animals all that much, but I absolutely love birds in particular. And it was just really, really cool to kind of explore something. I haven't been to the zoo in a long, long time, so to be able to do that was really great. And then we just kind of sort of talked about kind of the future of the channel, because I'm very transparent with my patrons, and obviously you as my audience. And as we'll get to as the video progresses, I've felt very stifled and trapped within my own content for a very long time, and therefore this was kind of the point in time where I knew changes need to be made. And as the week progressed, this became more and more and more apparent that the way that I currently do my content is not going to be enough for me to continue to survive going forward. So it started off as a pretty scary endeavor, but as the week went on, it became really hopeful, and I have a lot of positive things to talk about. Now moving on to sort of the Thursday, Friday. So on the Thursday I went and I got my badge, and I was all happy with that. So, I looked alright in my badge, sort of kicking it together. I don't look too bad in my shirts and everything. But the Thursday was also the partner party, and from the partner party I met, you know what I'm like, I'll talk to anybody in the room. I've discovered quite how extroverted I actually am through this trip, and I obviously spend a lot of time, a long amount of time at my desk, whether I'm filming videos or streaming or anything like that. What I get my energy from is definitely other people. And while I absolutely love that introversion is celebrated on the internet, there have been many, many times where I have reached out to content creators just to say hi and stuff like that. And it's I've often kind of been ghosted from that. So after a while of, getting burned and stuff, you stop putting your hand in the fire eventually. So that's why I probably come across as very distant to a lot of people sort of over on the internet. But I assure you, it comes from a place of anxiousness, not from a place of any kind of malice or anything like that. I just get really nervous meeting people on the internet. But if you take me online, I'll talk to anybody. And this was never more evident than on Thursday, when I had some advice from a very unexpected source, which I met Amaranth at the partner party, and she was absolutely delightful, really lovely. Had a lot of time to sort of sit and chat with her about just sort of like how to progress, how she's become so successful and stuff like that. And this led me to the idea that using social media as a platform to sort of propel something else that you're doing. Obviously, I'm not going to be doing the same thing that she does, but, you know, propelling something else that you do and something that you have that's unique is something that's going to help going forwards in terms of building a business, building things like that. So that's why I want to use some of the other skill sets that I have, mostly within my artistic range, will be beneficial to me going forward in the future. And then on that weekend, I also met up with some old friends back from the UFS days. Like this, we're talking like 10 years plus ago when I first went to the US, which is crazy. I cannot believe the first time I went to the US was 13 years ago. And obviously, for those of you who don't know, I also used to work in Las Vegas, so sort of 6 or 7 years ago. So to come back to the US after 4 years and lockdown was very, very weird and ethereal. And one thing I did spend a lot of time doing, and my eyes lit up when I saw this at TwitchCon, there was a full Street Fighter 6 booth. Like, for those of you who follow fighting games, like Justin Wong was there. Oh, I spoke to Hungrybox as well from Smash while I was at the partner party as well, if you know who he is. Also, really lovely. Honestly, everyone I met over this weekend was amazing. So, shout outs actually go out to Astanosis, who was there, who is a Dissidia content creator, for those of you who know who he is. Absolutely delightful, really fun to be around. You know, we got to talking about sort of Dissidia and the fact that, you know, the directions that we're all going in are in different places. And I think that, honestly, a lot of content creators, certainly for mobile games, are feeling the same way that I am. So, again, what I will talk about when it comes to that part of the video is backed up by a lot of kind of confirmation from other creators that what I'm feeling, I'm not alone in feeling. So hopefully that's going to kind of propel us in a nice direction that way. But suffice to say, when it came to Street Fighter 6, I spent a lot of time at this booth, like a lot. I spoke to the Capcom reps. I have actually already been sponsored by Capcom before for Monster Hunter, so fighting games are just in my blood. Like, I don't have a Final Fantasy tattoo. I have Vega from Street Fighter tattooed on my back. I mean, Vega's not going to be in Street Fighter 6, but it doesn't look like he's going to be. But I'm happy to explore and find a new main. So it was really lovely to kind of like go, have that moment of look up and go, oh, there are still things that I feel this passionately about and I want to share with my content. So that's an exciting thing in and of itself too. So on the Saturday, I kind of just explored the con and like went to lots of booths and just all over the place really, after having been out on the last couple of nights. I mean, I'll tell you something. Friday night I didn't go out because jet lag finally caught up with me at about sort of 5 p.m. I got back to my motel and I crashed until 8 o'clock the following morning. I made up for it every other night, because trust me when I say I don't think I have... I think I drank more in the 5 days that I was around everybody at that con than I have done in the last 10 years. And I'm certainly not teetotaled, like I don't drink very often. But when I do, I tend to have a good time, and everyone that I spent time with was incredible. And no more so than on the Saturday night. Like, I met some incredible people on the Saturday, and we ended up going over to the concert, so you may have seen this, like... Obviously, some of the controversy with TwitchCon started to happen around here with, you must have seen the sponge pit. I didn't go anywhere near that, and by the sounds of things, I'm very glad that I didn't, because apparently it was a death trap. So, glad we didn't go near that, but we got to see Kim Petras, Megan Thee Stallion, and it was absolutely fantastic. Just to, like, it was unexpected. Like, I'm actually a massive sort of, like, popular music fan. You know, I like a lot of music and stuff like that, and I don't talk about that very much on my streams either, because it's not Dissidia related. But it was absolutely wonderful, and I do have to give a very special shout out to this lady. If you do not follow Indeedee over on Twitch, you need to. This woman, I swear on my life, I clicked with so quickly. I met up with a lot of other people while I was at TwitchCon, like shout outs, like I said, Astanosis, Geeky Cassie, Bexbomb, who else did I go? King Dill Pickle, obviously the names I mentioned earlier. There's too many names for me to remember off the top of my head for content creators, but I was so overwhelmed with how wonderful everybody was. But this lady, I swear, is a friend for life. She's been like a Sherpa to me, because the thing is that I'm very, very lucky as a Twitch streamer. I made partner very quickly after I started streaming back in 2020. But the trouble is, when it comes to this stuff, is no one really teaches you anything. Like, I've never really had paid sponsorships or anything like that. This is a video about full transparency, so that's what we're doing today. And I've never really had anything like that, so it was really lovely to speak to somebody who had experience in that field, and she's just an incredible human being, and I have all the time in the world for her. So then we get to Sunday, and Monday, for that matter. Now, I don't know what happened, and I did, again, full transparency here. I was getting dressed on Sunday, getting ready to go, hanging like a mother, as I'm sure you can imagine. Big shout outs to Ishikawa. Absolute doll, like absolutely loved her company as well. There we go, she's just there. Really wonderful person, Destiny streamer. Huge shout out to her. We had such a laugh together. But I was getting dressed and I sat down, and all of a sudden, bam, tears. Just absolute mess. And the reason for that is because I had this realization that I genuinely love what I do, and I'd finally found something and a support system that I've never really had, like by being a streamer, by being a content creator, and to have all of these wonderful people, whether they knew me or whether they didn't, or whether I looked up to them like for their content, and just to be a part of something greater just completely hit me like a bus. And I was just so overwhelmed by it. But I'm also, again, transparency, and this is where I pre-warn you, I may get a little emotional as the video goes on. I am terrified of losing that which I've worked so hard and been so grateful and lucky to be a part of, because of the fact that I am trapped in a niche that isn't looking like it's gonna go anywhere. And again, transparency, I have been at 19,700 subscribers since this time last year, because my content hasn't changed. And whenever I try to move away from that, it can be very jarring for people, which I completely understand and respect, because people currently see my channel as a Dissidia channel, and I totally get it. But it gets to a point where you feel like one thing takes over your entire life and you question your self-worth based on that game. Last time when I came back from Amsterdam, I was very truthful about, and you're welcome to go back and watch that video if you want to. I was very transparent about the circumstances which led me to streaming, and why I eventually left Square Enix, and why I came into this sphere. Now I'm sort of being more transparent about where I'm at right now, and how I am ultimately extremely grateful to every single one of you guys that watches my content or gets anything out of anything that I've ever done. But I feel creatively trapped within a field, because I do this for a living, and trying to be more creative and go back to the passions that I have, like Street Fighter, like retro games, like all of that stuff. And there's so many things that I don't get to share with you guys, because it feels like many people, not everybody, because I do have a core audience which I'm extremely grateful for, just aren't interested. And when you live that life, it makes you question whether people just don't care about you, and that can be a very hard pill to swallow. However, it's fine. I went back, played some more Street Fighter, ended up with more drinks, and everything was fine. But every single person that I spoke to, whether it was other content creators, people who follow this channel, people, whether it was in person or like over Discord or anything like that, I was really just honest about how I felt, and you all let me be that way. And I'm really grateful for that, because I've not felt that I've been able to do that for a very, very long time. So now that brings us to where we are now. So that's the con. That was an incredible experience, and I am so grateful to all of you that helped me to even go. I didn't think that was ever going to be possible without you guys and the support that you've given. I would never have been able to do that, and I cannot thank you enough for it. So I've come back, and some of you may have seen that I put a really big post on my community tab on YouTube explaining where I'm at with the content that people know me for, which is Dissidia. I've made no secret of the fact that I feel trapped by that game, and the fact that I've tried to move into other areas, whether it be FF14, the FF count-up stuff, to try and get inspiration and stuff like that, and it always gets met with resistance, sometimes worse than others. Like, obviously, many of you know that I'm a makeup artist. I tried to do some of that on stream. That didn't go very well. People were leaving and saying, oh, we don't need to see your personal life if I ever posted anything LGBT focused. And that made me feel even more boxed in. Like, Dissidia is all you're worth. And again, if this were a hobby, it would be a different story. It would be fine. I could kind of walk away from it and go, do you know what? It's fine. I have my job. I have my security, all of that. We're at a point now where my security is very much in question when it comes to these things, because the popularity for Dissidia is waning very quickly and heavily. And while I appreciate everyone who plays the game and how people, like, I get to interact with you all very often, I have felt like a slave to that game for quite some time. And that actually brings me to the first major change that I want to make on the channel. My timing schedule has sucked on Twitch, and if you're in the US, I'm sure you have felt this very, very heavily, because I normally stream at 9 AM my time, so British summertime or GMT, and because I've been of the opinion that it's like, oh, I have to get this content done quickly so that I can put it up on YouTube, and I get the views from that, etc. However, it also meant that I couldn't really stream in a good time zone for the US, because events go live in Dissidia at 3 o'clock in the morning for me, and I have a husband, like, he sleeps. Like, I'm not going to start streaming and shouting and talking while he's asleep. It's not fair on him, or my body clock for that matter. And then streaming again in the evening to then do something else, because I'm then tired, and it just doesn't work. It's not a good schedule for me, it's not a good schedule for you. So the way I want to do this, and I would love comments and feedback on how you feel about this, because it is a change, is I am thinking about changing all of my streams to Monday to Friday at 1:30 PM my time. So at absolute worst, we're talking like 7 AM West Coast, or sort of like 8-9 PM in Australia. So at least it's waking hours for everybody, and it's a few hours later. And that way, if I'm always streaming at the same time, if there is a Dissidia event, I'll play it. We'll have fun with it, we'll kiki, and then once it's done, we can then move on to something else. The problem with Dissidia as a content creator, or any mobile title for that matter, is that there's two reasons that it gets to me more than anything. The first one is that the safety of the game itself is very quick and in jeopardy, which means that if people aren't hype about the game, which they haven't been since probably Garnet, like, I think the gem cap situation killed off a lot of people, then FR's Dawn kicked off a lot more, and then Dare to Defy started this bizarre Warzone thing that I still don't understand or quite get, and loads more people dropped off of that. And I thought it was me. I was genuinely thinking, oh, I've done something wrong. People aren't viewing my videos as much as they used to. Maybe I've gotten boring, maybe I've gotten stale, which is why I've sat there and gone, oh, I need to change things up. But as I've come to realise, it's because a lot of people have just stopped playing the game. And unfortunately for me, that means that I then become one of the sailors on the ship that goes down with the sinking ship. And I, as somebody who wants to continue to be a content creator full-time, now cannot physically rely on that game alone. And I've spoken to my patrons and all the people that support me, because at the end of the day, those people should come first, and they agree with me. A lot of my patrons, I've discovered, actually don't even play Dissidia anymore, which I find very interesting, but also very encouraging, because then you have people that are coming to my channel because they enjoy the content that I'm putting out, rather than just playing with Dissidia. The second problem with it is that for streaming, it's crap. Mobile gaming is crap for streaming. Again, this gets split into two reasons as well. The first one being, people want to watch pulls. They watch pulls, they come in for 10 minutes, they'll watch their pulls and they'll leave. And I guarantee you that any content creator for any mobile title or anything with a gacha element to it suffers this issue. Like, you'll get people that come in, have you pulled, have you pulled, have you pulled, have you pulled? If you say yes, they'll leave. If you say no, they'll wait till you do it and then they'll leave. So in terms of retention, it makes it feel like what I'm doing isn't interesting. Or people are there to shout into a void about how their luck is, or watch, we've talked about like people wanting to watch people fail and stuff like that in the past, and that's not, it's not cute. That's not what I'm here for. The second one is like, when an event comes out in Dissidia now, how long does it take you to finish? Really? Like, an hour, 2 tops? If you've been visiting my streams for Dissidia for a while, then you'll know that I finish an event, certainly if it's like a Lost Chapter or an Intersecting Wheels, it'll be done in an hour. And then I'm like, great, what do I do now? Like, the thing that I'm known for isn't providing content, but if I do anything else, then it's harder to keep people's retention. So that's why I'm at a point now where I'm like, okay, I need to experiment. I need to experiment with my scheduling. I need to experiment with the things that I do. And ultimately, I would like to become more of a variety content creator, because variety is something that I value a great deal. There are very few games that I can play continuously for years. Bear in mind, I've played Dissidia since the day it came out and still feel the same way about it I did back then. The truth of the matter is, I don't feel as passionately about Dissidia as I did 2 years ago when I started streaming. I don't. The game has changed, and a lot of people have fallen off the game entirely, and quite frankly, I understand why. Like, I can't argue with it, because it's not what we had before. Content's either too easy or frustrating. At no point do I ever feel challenged by that game unless I shoot myself in the foot by running subpar characters for the sake of content, and that to me feels disingenuous. Other content creators do that and they enjoy it, and they genuinely enjoy it, so those guys can absolutely continue to do that. That's not how I enjoy games. I like to push myself. Like, I'm a fighting game nut. I like to push myself to the absolute maximum limit I can take myself to and run with it. So maybe, and Dissidia once upon a time used to give me reward for that, and nowadays it doesn't. So it's hard to kind of explain that, and people go, oh, well, just use different characters then. It's like, that, yeah, I can, and I do, but that's not where the enjoyment of the game comes from for me. I play Dissidia despite it being a gacha. I don't play it because it's one. So loads of people, when I've asked before, what sort of things do you want to see from me? People always ask for gacha stuff, and I totally understand why, but it's just at a point now where it's like, is that the only thing I'm allowed to do and still be able to retain an audience? And therefore you start to question yourself as a content creator in general. I apologise if this is going on for a long time. I just have a lot to get off my chest, basically. Because honestly, like, this isn't a doom and gloom situation. I said this in the post earlier. If anything, this is really exciting for me, because I am going to have to take risks. I'm going to have to take risks. As a matter of fact, I have proof that happened literally as I was on the plane to come home, which is this. If this happens to Dissidia, as what's happened with the First Soldier, which has only been out for just over a year, I'm done. Like, that's it. I go from full-time content creator to nothing. And that thought has been in the back of my head for well over a year. Like, and now that I'm seeing that the numbers for the game are coming down, I don't want to drop Dissidia. I don't, actually. Like, I still like the game. No, I don't feel as passionately about it as I used to, but I still like it. And so if I can make it part of, like, the start of my streams and then move into something else in the year, like after I've finished with the hour or two it takes to finish an event, it should be sort of like a sub-game. And I'm sure if you ask yourselves, it probably is for you. Like, it's not what you would call your main game for a lot of people. Mobile titles typically are, you log on, you do your bit for 10 minutes, and then you're done. And that's it, which makes it terrible content for streaming. It's not bad for YouTube. It's not bad for YouTube, but obviously, because of the way, like, the games work, a banner comes out, everyone watches the video, like, maybe a day in, and then once that banner's out, no one watches those videos anymore. So there's no way for videos to kind of continue to climb or do well after like the second day of them being released. And that means that you have a very limited time frame to make those videos, so I never get to explore video editing like techniques and creativity because I'm having to constantly churn out this machine so that I can keep up with the pace. So it's going to be very interesting going forward to see what kinds of things I can do so that I can avoid a message like this ruining me entirely. So now we're going to talk about like a few ideas that I've had to try and pull myself out of that sort of singular niche hole, as it were. And I know I've talked about stuff like this before. In fact, you're probably sick of me talking about stuff like this because I know that a personal weakness of mine is that I will talk boldly when I'm feeling excited to do something. I'll dip my toe in the water. I did this with the FF14 shorts. I've done this with reviews before. And then when the water's hot, I reel back and I go straight back to my comfort zone because it's what I feel is the safe thing for me to do. The truth of the matter is that safety net is getting thinner quickly. So therefore, I have to kind of progress in such a way that makes sense for the channel and doesn't turn too many people away, but will also bring in new people. Like I said, this channel has not grown. Like, despite getting the same number of views every sort of, you know, relatively close number of views every video I make, it hasn't grown. Like, I'm not finding new people. I'm not reaching those people. And I know that when I did stuff before, people were like, oh, I didn't even see that you did that. So I don't know what's going on with the algorithm or anything like that, but I know that breaking out of your niche, and this is something I learned from both TwitchCons, is an extremely difficult thing to do, and to generalize your content is very, very hard. So trust me, I am well aware that by me making this video and essentially saying to you that within the next year I would like to phase Dissidia out, not out entirely of my content, but it not be the primary focus of my content. People on my Patron could suddenly go away. People who are subs to me on Twitch could suddenly decide they're not interested anymore. People could like decide that they never want to watch anything I make ever again. That is a risk I'm going to have to take, and me making this video is me making a stand to say I have to do this, and I want to do this because I love content creation and I want to be able to explore creatively and grow, not as a comparison point to anybody else, but to beat myself, as it were, to challenge myself. Just like what I was saying about Dissidia not posing a challenge. In a fighting game, there's always going to be somebody better than you, and there's always going to be somebody there's always going to be it's not even about comparing yourself to others at all. It's more about just constantly having the ability to level up. And at the moment, I'm struggling to find that. So honestly, for those of you who come to my content for me and the things that I put out, that perhaps you find something in me personally, I am extremely grateful, and I hope that we get to continue this journey together. And if you are here for just Dissidia, then I'm also very grateful to you as well. But I want to be transparent and say to you that my content is going to change over the next year, like it because it has to. Because I want to be able to continue to support myself, and I want to be able to continue to support my family. And yeah, I could go and get another job, but I wouldn't be able to put nearly as much time into this channel as I do then, and then you'd get less videos anyway. And maybe that's okay, maybe that's the way things go, but by me not expressing the good side of what I want to do, I'm not manifesting that energy. I'm not manifesting it, and I will end up dipping my toe in the water and recoiling when the water's hot, and I don't want to do that again. I know that like it's a risk, but it's one I have to take, because stagnating is way worse than taking risks. You have to take risks in any creative endeavor, and I think that it's something that everyone should explore. Now, in terms of things that we would do, I actually, like, while I was at the airport, I sat there and I did a drawing of Sephiroth. Completely innocuous, but I went for like a Hades style, like obviously it's not coloured or anything. Also, I'm clicking on the wrong photo. This is me on the plane looking horrendously haggard because it was 3.5 hours delayed. One of these days I'll have a trip where it doesn't go horribly wrong. It wasn't that bad. But I sat there and I drew Sephiroth, and I like took the photo of it, and I thought, oh, do you know what? I really like this. I really like this style. And then immediately I got messages asking for commissions on their favourite characters and style, and then people really liked it. Bear in mind, this is just a quick sketch in an airport. It's not coloured, it's not got anything like that. And one of the things I love is being creative and being able to explore styles and do that kind of thing and be like, oh, I could do any character like this. It doesn't have to be like Sephiroth. It could be any Final Fantasy character. Maybe Street Fighter. All of that kind of stuff. And, you know, I also think that it would be great if I wanted to start releasing merchandising. I spoke to a company at TwitchCon who I was very impressed at with the kind of things that they were showing on their meeting and the brand party that I went to for them, and I've been in talks with them, and hopefully some Joesephyr merchandise will come along soon. But what I don't want is, I don't want to be one of those creators that slaps their logo on a t-shirt and says go. I want to actually make things. I want to design things. I want someone to walk down the street, see what somebody's wearing, go, where did you get that? And they're like, oh, I got it from Joesephy's shop. That is like the dream for me. Not only that, but I kind of want to re-establish the fact that I do explore makeup and artistry and stuff like that, and I've been met with very heavy resistance for that in the past, and I get scared of it. I need to not be scared of that anymore, because for every person that tells me that I should go jump in a pit or whatever, there's 10 people, or there's another person at least, that could be inspired by that, because it is something I'm trained in doing. But honestly, because I start a stream at 9 o'clock in the morning, I don't often have a lot of time to do it. So if I change my schedule to be more consistent, there's a lot more I can explore. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. It is a lot, and I apologise, and I'm really, really tired. As you can tell by the absolute state of me right now, I look awful, so I apologise, but I wanted to come. I literally jumped on my camera as soon as I got home. So let me know what you guys think of the exploration I had at TwitchCon, the kind of the realizations that I had, the epiphanies, what you guys enjoy from my content. That's something I would really like to hear, because I'm actually petrified of releasing this video and talking about the fact that I want to kind of defocus my content on one singular title, because for all I know, like I said, I could be shooting myself in the foot here. But if I don't do this, then I'm going to end up slowly falling down anyway, as is evident by the way that Dissidia is going. Like, I'll explore Ever Crisis. We have Ever Crisis, Crisis Core Reunion, Theatrhythm, FF7 Rebirth, FF16, FF14 stuff. That's just within Final Fantasy. You know, that's just within that. Street Fighter 6, you can be damn sure I'm going to stream the heck out of that. Oh my god, I'm so excited for Street Fighter 6, you have no idea. I have Vega tattooed on my back. Street Fighter is in my blood. And I'm also looking at perhaps going back into Smash Bros tournaments again, because I've been very encouraged by a couple of my patrons for that, because they really enjoyed watching me play that, so I'm going to start doing that again. Then Pokemon, I might explore Pokemon Scarlet Violet. I'm definitely less closed off to the idea of streaming other gachas. Like, I play Pokemon Masters now, Ever Crisis is a gacha, so I will explore that, but I don't want, what I don't want to do with gachas is end up in that position again, the same like Dissidia, where people care about the pulls and nothing else. Because unfortunately, and there's nothing wrong with that. No, I just want to say that outwardly. There's nothing wrong with that. People like to live vicariously through others, but it's not the message I want to put across. Whenever I've made videos for those games, it's because I want people to play the game, not the gamble. And I say that on stream all the time, and I understand that a lot of people don't feel the same way, so I'm just putting that out there. Anyways, right, that is going to be it for me today. I am going to be streaming at my current time of 9 o'clock tomorrow for Renoa. I actually haven't done Faris's event. I just pitied Tifa's BT as well. Actually, that was a point. I got Faris's FR at 140 Gs. This is obviously for you Dissidia players. And I decided I can't be bothered. I'm just going to continue pulling until I got Tifa BT, because I wanted to see how far it would go. I pitied it. And I felt nothing. I wasn't sad. I wasn't happy. I wasn't over. Like, I did a lot. If people want a reaction video, it would have been, okay. And that was it. And that to me says to me I need to reevaluate some stuff, because if I'm not getting any emotion out of that anymore, that's a dangerous road to be on. So while I'm happy to continue to play the game, and I enjoy the game and everything, I just want people to know that the direction is going to change. And I'm telling myself that as much as I am you guys, because I am absolutely terrified. But let me know what you think of everything I've said here. Thank you so much for listening. I know it's a lot, but bear with me. And I'm not going anywhere. And I hope you don't either. And I hope you guys stick around for the journey. I'm really grateful to you all. I love you all very much. So, time to put my big boy pants on and actually be brave. So, thank you very much, everyone. See you later.